Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode, I believe it's 18 of the Here I Am podcast. It's been a hot minute. Did you miss me? Probably not. But yeah, it's been a really hot minute since I've been able to record. Lots of crazy shit has happened in my life, but we're here now, and we are here, very fortunately, with the lovely Tia, who is on here as the first repeat guest. So, hi, Tia.
Hi, Ante. How are you?
You know what? You know what's weird? I was thinking on how I was going to respond to that question. Is that weird? Because I've been doing this thing lately where I've been lying to every single person who's asking that question. But it's kind of like a social experiment in a sense. So like, you know, people always go like, oh, they don't like to be around negative people. They don't like to be around negative people. But a lot of people always like tell me they like me for my honesty of how I'm like honest with how I'm feeling. And with all my years I guess almost 2 years in therapy and everything like that, I've kind of realized but I'm kind of doing this thing where I'm going to lie and say, I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. I'm doing great. But behind the scenes, I'm acknowledging my emotions and I'm working and I'm processing and going through it that way, kind of like keeping it to myself a little bit. So I'm gonna say I'm doing really good, but also
so you're lying, and we're gonna go ahead and
yeah, it's just been these since November. It's been crazy, and I don't want to go like into full details, but I literally went from like roller coaster of the best I've ever felt in my life emotionally and going like, holy shit, like this is what happiness actually feels like. And like, I get it now.
Yeah, because I remember you had even texted me. You were like, hey, like I read this book. You were like doing really good. And like, yeah, sorry, didn't mean to like interrupt.
No. You're totally right. And then fucking life just went, I'm gonna test you,
punch
motherfucker.
You in the face?
Oh my God. And it was just one thing after another. And I just went like, I don't think I should talk to people. Like I was just going like, I don't think I should tell you anything that I'm doing because I just got slapped in the face. But most importantly, how are you doing?
You know, it's funny because it's the same thing. So it's simultaneously, I'm doing amazing and also terrible. Like both. And it's weird because like I feel like because we do live some of our lives online. I mean, we don't put everything online, but like I've battled with like whether sometimes I will share stuff, but then I get overwhelmed because people are like, I don't know, like if I post something on a Tuesday and it's Sunday and that emotion has passed or whatever it is has passed, like everybody reacts to me as if I'm still in that state. And then I also feel like I'm always struggling. And so I feel stupid to always be like, well, like not great, but let's, use humor. So, I mean, there's so many things in my life that from the last time I was on and that my life is doing so great. And so many amazing things have happened. And then also I'm not where I want to be.
Yeah, that's always like the catch-22 of like, you need to be in the moment and enjoy where you've come from. But it's like the hungry or like happy but not satisfied type of thing. But I will say, just to, give you your flowers, you're fucking crushing it. Like, I've seen your following jumping through the roof. You got a fucking 100K on Instagram. And for those of you who don't do content creating, Instagram's like hard to build a following on. Like they're picky. They're more pickier than what TikTok does. TikTok will like push you out for a little while. You can build up a following, and then they'll be like, all right, we're not going to push out your content anymore. We're not going to do it for a while. But for like a while, they're like, here, like make content. And then you're like, yeah, all right, cool. And then like Instagram's even like, dude, you better impress us, bitch. It's going to take a while.
So the crazy, that's what, like, so everybody's been like, oh my gosh, you're from the outside looking in, the past 4 or 5 months of my life have been, nothing is moving. And not like, if we're talking about like dating, my job, like for me right now, like my biggest stress is that I have been looking for a new job for months. I had gotten into interviews with Activision and I didn't make it. And I am at a job that literally I cry at every day and am just not doing well. And that's what's been the stressor for me, that tanks everything else, on top of being a single mom, on top of streaming all the time, which thank God Instagram has taken off, because like my Twitch is like skyrocketed because of Instagram. And I have like all my creator friends, because, you know, like for me, when I started, I was like, I started on TikTok and now I'm at like 43K. Nobody sees my TikToks anymore. And so I don't know if you feel like this, like, or other creators feel like this. It's like you watch your friends, like we're all, you know, like acquaintances, or, you know, it's like coworkers, and you see them doing good and you're like, shit, man, like nothing's moving. What am I doing? You know, like you start doing things. And so it's been funny because like my Instagram has like skyrocketed. And so everybody's like, you're killing it. You're killing it. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing to do this. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. And it's just,
but that's the beautiful thing. That's when it's like most beautiful. It's because you're being yourself. You're not trying to be something that you're not to gain followings, which is what a lot of content creating has become, where it's like, oh, people gravitate to this, I'm going to do this all the time. Or like a lot of people try to make content just for the sake of making content in hopes of getting popular or whatever. But it's not them. You know what I mean? And like you see it, you see it, right? You like just go like, oh, I hate doing this, but I got to keep going, and blah 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 blah. And in terms of like your job and you're hating it, I understand that. But what I want to say to you is, it's not like you're choosing to stay in it. You know, and you're trying, and it's frustrating that the efforts that you're putting in aren't happening. But I mean, maybe it's the universe kind of telling you, just hang on. Like, notice that, like, oh, you're going over with your job, you're not blah 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 blah, and then but you're streaming, and you told me yourself, I wish I could just do Twitch and just make money off of that and just play video games.
That's what I want to do. I want to bring joy.
But do you not know? But see, it's looking from the outside, you're stuck in this. Me on the outside looking in, going, I know you hate that. I know you hate that. But you're doing this thing where you're fucking, this other thing that you love is starting to pick up. And it's like, just keep, it's like one of those, like, I know it sucks, but just keep going, and you'll break through, and then you'll become famous, and then you can hire me as like your assistant.
I'm hiring everybody. We're going to need a team. I need a team. I don't have my Adderall right now, so I need help. That's part of the reason why I'm struggling so fucking bad. Is
like squirrel.
Yeah. Well, it's not. Okay. So here's the thing too, is like having ADHD. I didn't get diagnosed until I was an adult. And it's frustrating because people will see me and think like, they're like, oh, you definitely have ADHD. You can tell that I'm hyper. You can tell that I fidget. You can tell all these different things. But there's a lot of things that the way that ADHD affects me that it might not other people, but like my emotional regulation is terrible. It's not just my impulsiveness. It is that. It's the fact that like my brain doesn't have the dopamine that it should. So a lot of times the impulsive behavior is that I'm just trying to regulate myself because I'm not regulated. So, and that goes along with like being a single mom, or like there's there's noises all the time. People are asking me, my kids will ask me questions at the same time. And so I'm like stressed out, and there's like everything on the table of like work and all this. And it's like, I always have my mind running a million miles a minute. And so when I'll do impulsive behaviors, it's because I just want like a relief from the stress of that. And it's is hard to cope with on a daily basis. And I didn't go off meds on purpose. I was with Cerebral that did ADHD meds, and I've been looking for a doctor that, it's so hard. You have to find it. Like, I wanted to find just a family practice doctor that would prescribe, stimulants. They act like I'm trying to get cocaine. First of all, can we all?
And you know what? If that was the case, it would probably be easier to get cocaine than it would be for you to get your Adderall.
So much easier. And I literally, I almost was in tears yesterday, calling around and just waiting in line, on the phone. And I finally got to someone, and I was like, I just need help. I was like, I know that I do well with meds. And then that's the thing too, is people will tell me, or just randomly send TikToks about how med, or people's on the fence about the meds. I don't care. That's fine. Keep it to yourself. But I've had people be like, well, there's side effects of every med if you take it continually. And I'm like, yeah, but there's also the side effect that I might lose my shit if I don't. And I can keep it together, but my mental health without ADHD medication is not great. And I know that, and I'm trying to do that, but finding the right provider, and that doesn't cost an arm and a leg, that will take new patients, and whether or not, they will even listen to me, because I've had people tell me they don't think I have ADHD as an adult after I've already been diagnosed. And I'm like,
yeah,
so
that's a whole other level of frustration. And I can't even, I wish I could imagine. I wish I could put it in. My only perspective of that is, or my own experience is, that I could even try, is anytime I tried going through with the doctor, it's always they try not to treat the person. They just kind of like for me, it was, I went in and I was like, I'm gaining weight like no other, and I'm depressed like no other, I'm stressed out like no other. What, can we run tests and check and see if there's something seriously wrong or whatever? And they said, well, we can give you antidepressants. And I went, okay, so you just want to, you don't really want to check on me, or say we figure this out. This might be controversial, but I would rather have a psychiatrist diagnose me and go here are some meds for you to try and take, versus having a regular physician. And when the person I saw was a physician's assistant going I can get this doctor to give you these meds. I can give blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, I'd rather go through a psychoanalysis thing and then get diagnosed and then get meds prescribed that way, versus just take this and you're fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more of it's masking the problem versus solving the problem. And then for you, it has to be they're just going nah, I don't think you're really sick.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's seriously the most frustrating thing. And so one of my friends, Jatman, that I stream with, we're really close. And I was talking the other day, or I called him and we were talking on the phone. And I was like, it's really frustrating to struggle so hard with everyday things because of ADHD, and people will literally look you in the face and tell you ADHD isn't real. Or that, no, you're you just need to do this. And I wish I didn't need meds. I wish I didn't. Can I survive off them? Yeah. Is it good? No. And so I've been without my meds for 4 months now. And that's part of the problem, is I need meds to focus, and I haven't been able to focus to even make more appointments. And then whenever I do, it's it's hard. And so then I get upset and frustrated, and I can't even if tasks are hard with ADHD, that's the thing, is people will think you're lazy. It's not the fact that we're lazy. It's the fact that it's so overwhelming. I can't even bring myself to try to do it.
Yeah.
So it's
I get that feeling.
Yeah.
I've never been diagnosed, but I struggle with that. I get really overwhelmed with okay, I have a lot of tasks that I need to get done, and then it just weighs you down, and you're just okay, I'm gonna sit here and regulate, or like I'm gonna sit here, and then you almost like have, like, for me at least, it's like, okay, I'm gonna do something that distracts my brain that I know is gonna make it happy.
Yeah.
And I was like, I will deal with those tasks later, at a later time. I will push it on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what, like, so a lot of times, like, because like, so anxiety and depression really run with ADHD because, and I tell people, like, I don't suffer from depression. The problem is that I suffer from anxiety, and it's like revving an engine so high until it literally just crashes and turns off. So it's not running at normal, it's now off, which is the depressive mode, because I've been in such a high rev for so long that I'll just dip down, and it literally is on fucking repeat. And I don't want to, and I feel like I get, and my self-talk has been terrible. That's something I'm trying to work on. But like, I'll just get mad at myself that like I can't keep it together. Like, I really, like, you can't even do the dishes for 3 days because you've been, you know, it's like I go through these modes of like where I'm on it. I'm kicking butt, and I'm doing more than what most people could do because I'm in that like revved up hyper mode, and then I just crash. And it's so embarrassing too, because everybody, I feel like, perceives me a certain way, and it might be in my head too. I know a lot of people aren't really thinking about us as much as we think they are, but I feel like everybody's like, oh, Tia's like on it, Tia's this, Tia's that. And so when I'm not in the best space, I feel ashamed and embarrassed. And then sometimes it's also like, I am a true introvert, which people don't know this, but you can ask my bestie, John. He's like, oh yeah. Cause John, by the way, moved up here for Haha House, for those that don't know, and is renting a room for me. I was like, why don't we can just rent a room. And so
Help me with this mortgage bill.
yeah. So like, he sees that like everybody's like, oh, they see me at this hyperactive, I like always want to, you know, have people be engaged. And so I almost overdo my personality a little bit to make people feel comfortable. That I then will go into my introvert cave. And a lot of my friends know, like, if I stop sending TikToks, if I stop texting you for 2 to 14 business days, give or take, like, I'll come back out. But I'm just like, and I don't know if that's part of my ADHD, or also that I really am a true introvert. Like, I have to have alone time to recoup, and I don't get enough of that.
No, yeah, I completely understand. I'm very similar, where it's almost like, you know, if you're doing like a live or you're interacting with people, it's like, you're on, you got to be on, you got to do this and do that. But I know for me, as soon as I shut the camera off, don't fucking talk to me. I'm done. Like, I can't talk for a while, and it's hard to do that. Oh, I want to ask you about your self-talk. What is it? Like, how are you talking to yourself lately?
I have really, really been down on myself, especially with my kids. It's just been rough with my kids. They're in a stage of like, they're fighting all the time. Funny. Today, like, they're fighting, and my oldest had like a pillow, and I just picked the pillow, and I was like, the pillow. I was like, stop doing that, like, stop. And I was like, I just hit my kid with a pillow. I was like, I mean, at least he didn't catch a corner. So, hey, you know, like, hey. I didn't like wrap it up and like, you know, like brick it, but it's just, I beat myself up because I'm like, everybody, especially with my ex-husband's family, they saw me so stressed out, but I was a single parent, married. Yeah. But I like feel like I'm now a single mom, and there's different stresses and stuff like that. But I feel like I'm just not emotionally connected with them because I'm tanked. I'm trying to do this streaming thing. I want to make this a full-time thing. So that means a lot of my evenings I'm streaming on Twitch. I'm trying to, you know, I'm working all day and then trying to help them. And I'm just, my introvert and extrovert meter is all thrown off. And so I get mad at myself, like, oh, I haven't even, like, I've just been short with them. And I'm like, great. They're only going to remember how terrible you were to them. That you're only going to remember, you know, like, and I know that I'm saying that stuff to myself and that's not kind, but it's so hard to like turn that off. And especially when, like, cause I had, you know, I put something up put it up on TikTok, but then I also put it up on Instagram, the frustration of I'm stuck in a job that I'm trying and I'm working. So I'm a recruiter for a mortgage company, for those that don't know. And I'm calling people all day and I haven't gotten, it's a lot. Yeah. And one of the recruiters I work with, and he's the sweetest human, he's getting loan officers to like make appointment. And I'm doing the work. And I told John, I was like, that's the hardest part, is I'm doing the work at work, but I'm not getting, like, I can't make loan officers say yes, but it makes me feel like I'm doing a terrible job, but I'm doing the same amount of work and I'm just not getting it. And I'm like, what is happening? So then I'm stressed out that like, I'm going to be in trouble at work because, you know, like, or they start nitpicking of like, well, what do you think you're saying to them for them to say no? And you're like, I'm calling, I don't know. So I have that stress. And then with the kids and I was just like, I feel like I'm watching everybody else's life move on. And I don't feel like anything is shifting. And I know that that's like everybody's seeing, you know, I want to do Twitch full time. I want to do content full time. And I know that the steps are being taken, but it's not now. Yeah, and I'm hurting and stressed out now. You know?
No, I totally get that. I'm almost in the same boat. I feel really stuck with what I'm doing. And I keep questioning myself all the fucking time. Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? I don't even fucking know anymore. Tired of being in my car all damn day. And then like stressing about like, am I making enough money? Can I even like do this, that, or the other? One of the things that I would want to say to you is when you catch yourself being short with your kids and you're talking to yourself that way, who's to say you can't be upfront with them about it? Hey, I know I'm sorry. I've been really kind of short with you guys lately, and it seems like my temper has just been, I'm just really tired, and that's not fair to you. I apologize. And if you're like owning up to it, that'll be like, and I'm sure you do, and I'm sure you do.
I did it tonight because I was like, and it wasn't just me. I was like, I know that it's all of us, and I was like, also, I'm sorry I hit you with the pillow. So stupid. If there's any parents that are watching this, listen. Oh God, it's like I can't be the only one where you didn't want to just like suck them one time, you know, with the pillow. But I still, it's hard to not beat yourself up after it because like
100%.
Yeah. Because I know that like you have like, and I think we talked about this a little about the podcast last time of like some things that like you remember like your parents like hurting and like, and I don't remember how much I told. Now I don't give a flying flip. Like for anybody that wants to know, I grew up with my dad who was abusive. He was abused. He did not mean to abuse me, but the cycle continued. And I mean, he left my life when I was 23. One of the last words he ever told me was I was a disgrace of a daughter because he still blames me for a lot of things. My mom is a drug addict. I only hear from her maybe every 1.5 to 2 years, if that. My kids have never met either one of, they've met my mom, Avery, basically once, Grayson never. I mean, when he was born. But like, I sit there and I'm like, okay, I'm not making maybe all the same mistakes, but I'm screwing up. I feel like I'm like, they're going to remember this the way that I remembered X, Y, and Z.
I would disagree with that. I would think the fact that you own up to it is huge. It's fucking huge. So like, you know, my parents, and this has been, so this past week has just been really weird. So a lot of y'all know that both my parents are dead. My mom's birthday was this past Monday. My dad's heavenly birthday, aka his anniversary of his passing, is coming up this following Tuesday, or when this is posted tomorrow. And I've had a really rough relationship with my dad because like he and I argued all the time. We fought all the time, and he always knew how to push my buttons, but I always felt like I was like the biggest disappointment to him. And my last words to my father were, "I'm disappointed in you." Kind of ironic with that. But Um, I keep looking back at our relationship and I keep having to go, he was a good father. He was there. He provided. If I ever needed anything, he would be there. But his issue was he never owned up to anything that he did. He was really stubborn about it.
How have you worked past that now when you haven't had a chance to?
Yeah, I can't talk to him about it.
Yeah.
The way I've been working past it is I've been empathizing with him. So for me, it was he had to essentially kill both of his parents. And it's going to sound really harsh, but it was like my grandfather had probably like 8 or 9 strokes. And he was at a point where he was just in so much pain and he was in the hospital. And my grandmother told my father, go tell the doctor to pump him full of morphine until he passes, like make him comfortable. And this was like right around my dad's birthday. And I was just like, and then it wasn't, and again, this wasn't until after my dad died that I realized I found out about this because my mom told me. And then when my grandmother, she also had several strokes. And he had to do the same thing for her. And she was literally buried on his birthday. And he retired. He didn't have work to distract him anymore. And for me, I went, fuck, that has to weigh heavy on a person. And no matter how much you want to rationalize, like you didn't want them to suffer anymore. You didn't want them to go through pain. It's like if you're putting down it's like you put down your dog, right? And like, oh, like they're no longer suffering and pain. It's comforting to an extent, but you're still gonna miss them. You're still gonna be sad about it. And he never talked about it. He never talked about it. What did he do? He just drank. And he drank. And we're talking like from as soon as he woke up till he like knocked out in the middle of the night. And all I could see was him being unhealthy and him getting sick and him catching and like his immune system was shit. So he would like get a cold and it would turn into pneumonia the next day. And he's in a hospital. And, there was a time where he had like 1 billion tubes up in him because he couldn't fucking breathe. And that's what I saw. But now coming out of that to when I learn new information, I see a man that was suffering mentally and he didn't know how to talk and he didn't know how to talk about it. I remember I told my mom and him that I attempted and I was really depressed. And you know what he said to me? Why? The fuck is wrong with you? He didn't say what the fuck is wrong with you, but that's kind of like the what he implied. He's like, you have everything. I give you a house, if you have a roof over your head, I buy all your food, I buy all your shit. What do you have to be sad about?
Yeah.
I get it. Mental health was never his thing. My brother doesn't fucking get it. He's starting to. Like having conversations with him, it's like he's kind of like the wheels are starting to turn a little bit and he's starting to become more understanding. But like my dad, he was a military guy. You're not supposed to talk about your feelings. What? Fuck that shit. You know what I mean? And that's why I try to be open. I try to talk about this type of stuff. And like when I'm having like a sad thought, I'll share it on TikTok. And like by the time I share it, I'm like, I've already moved through it. I already know. Like I'm fully aware. I probably had this thought a few days ago. I was just figuring out how can I word it and share it with people.
Yes.
But sorry.
No, you're fine. Like, cause I also, it's so hard to like balance it all. And I think that's why we all want connection. A lot of times we're like with the apps and all that stuff, like, cause I left, I left. I was like, but we all are wanting connection in some way. And I think like for me, it's like hard when I do have a hard moment. I do the same thing now. I kind of wait till after to because if I'm in the headspace where I'm having a hard moment, I can't always necessarily, I don't want to deal with comments. I don't want to deal, I'm not in that headspace.
Sorry to interrupt, but it's also kind of like, at least for me, when I'm in that dark of a headspace, no matter who says that they understand or they relate, I'm going to say, no, you fucking don't. You don't get it. And then like for me, but like once I'm out of that headspace and then I see someone else get into that headspace, I could literally be like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
But I'm also at the same time going like, but you aren't going to believe that I get it. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're going through it right now.
Yeah.
And like, that's all I can say. And then like my biggest struggle, again, it stems from my parents. And like my mom was a lot more understanding than my dad ever was, but it was just like kept getting shut down and not being able to feel like I can express myself, which also made me just think I'm not good enough and all this other stuff. It just makes me go, when I'm in that space, it's just going like, okay, I gotta shut it down for a little bit and let me process it. And I know for you with like your parents, it has to be difficult because they're still alive, but they're not around. And the thing I want to say to you is like, for me, like I used empathy to forgive my father and be like, you were going through shit that I don't understand. And I'm sure a lot of the things that you said that was hurtful, you didn't actually mean.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you didn't know how to process your shit. And so you took it out on me.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that I had to talk to my brother about, that he didn't understand. He's like, I don't understand like how like you got so down on yourself, or like you keep battling this depression. And I was like, dude, you moved out before dad retired. You didn't see him the way I saw him.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you didn't deal with his shit like I did. Now granted, like my brother and my dad butted heads all the time, but as soon as my brother got out of the house, he's not seeing him as often, so of course they're going to get along better. So for you, I would say, I'm sure your parents were dealing with shit that they were never able to speak about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's like been the hardest part. I think you could probably relate that. I see when you say people are like, don't understand what you're going through. I feel like that too, because people will, I don't speak, and I'm open to speaking about it. So obviously it's going to be published, but I don't speak about it a lot because my parents are alive and I still want to be respectful. But at the same time, like I've been realizing that like when I saw people going through divorces, everybody I know has had family to fall back on.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it alone. And so I've had a lot of like anger and bitterness of like, especially with both my parents, but in different ways, that I'm like, what on God's green earth did I do to deserve this? Because I see other people and I know that that's the comparison thing. But I think that's what's hard with when we're in that headspace of you're just like, why me? And for me, it's like my parents chose and are continually choosing to not be there and or blame me or unwilling or unable to get the help that they need on two different fronts.
Yeah.
My mom is like I'm talking, my sister and I have conversations about all the time, and some of it's funny. And I have a lot of really good stand-up that I could do one day that people would never be like, oh, that's bubbly Tia. Nah, it's gonna be some real shit if I ever do stand-up.
Dark stand-up, Tia.
Oh, it would be, because I'm like, my kids don't know either one of my parents. That's something too, is like within the divorce and within everything, is I get to watch my kids love somebody else's family. And my kids will never know my parents. And it's hard to like, there's so many things of that, of like, And everybody's like, I know everybody looks at me like I'm some puppy that just got ran over. And like when I tell them that story, it's like, I don't know if you feel like that. Sometimes like it's the pity. And I know that they're not meaning to, but like, I don't bring it up because I don't want to have people look at me like I'm so fucking broken.
Yeah.
And like of that, like that, because they want to understand. But it's like, even if with all the therapy, and I mean, I have my faith, but for me, it's been a really hard question. I'm like, God, like where's the hope in this? Because even as my life goes on, nothing's going to fix that, you know? Like there's still going to be those peaks and valleys of grief and sadness. And there is so many great things about life. And I was praying for friends, and boy, did I get that in spades. And my life is so full and so complete. And that's why I'm not like within the dating, like I'm not dating right now. I'm not on the apps. I'm not doing the stupid apps no more, you guys. Like I can't do the stupid apps. We can get into that in a minute after we get through our sad shit.
Start laughing about dating.
Yeah. But like, it's so frustrating to like, there's so many big feels that, and it's why I think like I was drawn to you, because like I was like, oh, somebody else that doesn't have parents. I'm not, because literally I don't know anybody else.
Yeah. I'll tie this dating story in real quick. No, because it's like for me, dating is really hard because a lot of people don't understand like the last like super serious relationship I was in. You get a lot of like, they wouldn't want you to feel this way. They wouldn't want this, they wouldn't want that, or whatever. And I'm like, you don't get it. So the last person I was seriously talking to, I got really drawn to her because both of her parents were dead too.
Well, hot dog.
It was no, but for me, it was like, fuck, somebody gets it. Somebody gets it. And then like I got to talking to them, and then I was like, wow, we actually have like a lot of things in common. And they've been in some like really shitty abusive relationships. And like we would talk off and on for like a long time, because like we would talk and like set up like, oh, maybe we should do like a date. And then boom, it's ghosted, disappeared. And for me, I'm like, that's you going like, oh shit, too real, can't do this right now. And recently it happened again. We were talking and I was like, wow, this feels different this time. She was making a lot of effort and wanting to like talk and everything. Set up a date. I haven't heard from her since. And I know there's probably still like a lot of hurt and shit there that she's dealing with or whatever. I don't know. And I wish nothing but the best, but it's you get drawn when you find someone who's had a similar situation happen. Yeah, it's wow, you fucking get it. You fucking get it. And for me, I would say, yeah, I'm understanding of what it is to no longer have parents anymore. I wouldn't ever say that I understand what it means for you whose parents are still alive but are choosing not to be there. And I want to ask you, are you holding on to hope that one day maybe that'll all change?
I wish it would, but I know with my dad, it's a safety issue for me.
Mm-hmm.
And for my mom, I wanted so bad. So so I grew up with my dad. My mom was not my life. I didn't meet my mom or my sister. I have a half sister, or my mom's side of the family until I was 16. I never saw pictures. My dad would not talk about. I didn't even know. All I knew is that my mom's name was blah blah blah, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't put that on the internet, but like, and she had brown eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I wondered my whole life. I didn't even know if I looked like her. I didn't know what my sister looked like. Do I look like my sister? There was so much there, and it was on both sides of my parents. I could have had a relationship with all those people, and it was both of their faults. They made choices. Our choices affect, and that's why I'm like really big about like, and my ex-husband's, there's nothing bad. Like, we have a civil relationship, and his family, there's a lot of hurt on my, like, from them towards me, that I'm just like, but I will never, even though that there's hurt, I will never keep anybody from a relationship with the kids that are family, because I lost out because two adults couldn't get their shit together. And it ruined my life, and has still, like, my sister and I have talked about, we've had so many conversations, because we have a relationship now, and like, I have two nieces, and I've visited her, and we've talked about, like, she wondered, she remembers me because she's 5 years older than me, so she remembers me as a baby, and she has a lot of like guilt because she feels like I wasn't there for her, but that wasn't her fault. But my mom, she chose drugs over, she was in and out of my sister's life, and she's continuing to choose drugs, whether she, and I swear to goodness, if either one of y'all ever hear this podcast, I'm telling my truth. That's what I've gone on. Like, I don't trash anybody on, like, the internet, but like, this is different scenario. So if you guys ever see this, pay for my therapy.
It's getting expensive.
It's getting expensive over here. But like, she just has chosen, it's like out of sight, out of mind. And so for me, it's like, I wish that there was, but I cannot have somebody that is not okay. And they're like, you have got to be clean. You got to be clean. And like, she's not, and she's admitted a few times, but she might say she is now, but even everybody in the family knows. But like, there's stuff that I missed out on because of their actions. And I have forgiveness. Like, I'm not mad at my dad. I don't hate him. That was more of the day-to-day of like some really terrible stuff. And a lot of people would, and I won't go into a lot of like detail of that, but a lot of people were like, well, do you harbor bitterness? And I don't hate my dad. I don't hate any of that, but I also have to be wise with what I allow into my life. And if you are not healed and you're not better, then I can't. I would hope that, I wish that I could, but I don't see it on either side. So I, have to walk my life. And it's a weird thing too with dating, because I feel like so broken. It's funny because people, like, I know people are on Instagram or whatever and thinking like, oh, you have every guy that would ever want you. Why would you, there's that whole saga. But I'm like, I am a divorced single mom, 35-year-old. I don't have, like, my friends are my family. That's all that I have. And so I feel like when I, put myself out there, like, I feel like such a burden to a lot of people. And I push that really deep down. And it's why I bring so much joy to people, because I know depths of sadness that people would never even know. So I always want to bring as much happiness.
You don't want anyone else to feel the pain. Same.
Yeah. And it's, I don't, like, even John, like, I've only cried, I don't cry often. It's funny because I was like, I told John, I forget what it was. So I had a person had dated.
Oh, I thought you were gonna be like, so John, I'm going on this podcast. Last time I did it, I cried a lot. So every time I have those conversations with Anjay, he just makes me fucking cry.
It just makes
not
me
in
cry.
Not in like a bad way. But
not like, but like in a super like soothing way. Like, we just do all the
soothing
things.
way.
It's such a soothing. You get it out.
You're gonna fucking. Oh my god! I'm gonna get a text from you one of these days. You're gonna be like, Anjay, I need to talk to you. I need a really good cry right now.
I just need a really good cry, and then just like get it out.
Can we just FaceTime real quick? All right.
Yeah.
Just say something really nice to me.
Yeah, right. Let's just get it out. I had okay. Well, I had dated a person, and they had like recently saw a reel and like sent it to me. And I didn't even put on my stories, like one of my own reels, and almost like a snarky. It was they were trying to, I don't know, whatever. I don't care about their intention. That they were just like of something about me being single, and like again, I'm making jokes. Here's the deal. Sometimes when I put on a fucking reel or a TikTok or anything, I have a joke in my head. And this joke was the joke that popped up into my head was that the Christmas Miracle one, that I was just like, you know, if I'm not going to be single anymore, it's going to be a Christmas miracle, and we're out of miracles and it ain't Christmas. That was the joke that like literally popped in. I'm like, that shit's funny. So I'm like, okay, let me play off that and I'll make a reel. So sometimes it is like, I'm happy in my singleness. I want everybody to know I'm good. I desire a relationship, but my life is full. So a lot of the stuff that I put on, it's funny, and it's also relatable because we've all had those moments. Because I mean, even though I'm happy in my singleness, I'm so happy with my life. Like it's why I haven't had a relationship really in a while, because I'm not going to just have a relationship just to have a relationship.
Yeah.
I'm good. So anyways, it sent that to me and was like, you know, because somebody sent somebody away. And it was a person that all like, yeah. So it was a person like the person that also had anxiety. And I understand everybody's anxiety, but it's also like not always my responsibility to help everybody else all the time. Like I'm dealing with my own stuff. And I forget what the point of that was, but that like the realization that I was like, I am not responsible for everybody else's opinions on whatever I put online, because everybody has an opinion. I am funny. Okay. I'm funny. And a lot of times it's a joke just like that. That was like a joke that popped in my head. And so I play it up of like, I'm going to be single forever. I know that I'm not. I'm going to tell everybody on the internet, I'm not going to be single forever. Write it down. When I get married, you're all invited. Okay.
Well, yes. That's an expensive ass wedding.
That is listen, y'all are getting PB&J. You're welcome on some mountain somewhere, because
but you're inviting the whole internet, and you're going to, even with PB&J, that shit adds up over time. You know, hey, I'm just saying,
y'all bring your own PB and your J. I'll provide the bread. Bread's, well, hopefully
BYOPB. Have you seen prices lately? Bread's expensive.
I know. Yo, we be balling out.
I made a joke where I was like, you know, guys don't need to be bragging about how much money they have. They're like, oh, no, you gotta be like, girl, I have egg money. Like that should be your pickup line.
I got that. Not even the 12 does. I got the 18 pack. I got the 18 pack kind of money.
Girl, I went to Costco. I got the 60.
Right. But it's just so frustrating because I'm like, I don't know. For me, it's what I've been like battling lately is like, I have so many jokes because it is sometimes just perceptions of life, of like the season that I'm in. Because somebody was like, oh, you just only talk about dating. I'm like, no, I make jokes about everything, but I'd make jokes about like what I'm perceiving in life. And that's kind of like comedy. And that's why it's relatable within that, because that's where I'm at. But whenever I get into a relationship, I'm gonna make jokes about that. Whenever I get married again, I'm gonna make jokes about that, about second husband, where you at? I'm gonna make jokes about third husband, where you at?
It's like second breakfast, but better.
Yes. And sometimes it's just a freaking joke.
It's just a fucking joke. Yeah. No, I know, like for me, I'll make jokes about like how super single I am or whatever. I'm literally just making the joke. Because I mean, in all honesty, I'm not looking. I'm just not. I'm not. I'm just kind of trying to live in my own space and live in my own world, and just be kind and open to other people. And then like whatever happens. Like I'm open to it, but I'm not going like, oh my God, I need to be in a relationship. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like I'll post something and like you'll I'm sure you did this too. Like you'll get like the comments like, if she only gave me a chance, if you only gave me a chance. And I'm
If
like,
you just go through your DMs.
Or I'm right here. And I'm like, oh, huh? Okay. Like, and cool. I'm over here. So
yeah,
like,
so okay.
that has nothing to
Wait, so are you now that we've like, because I know that we talk about dating online, so I'm pretty, you can tell me like shut up, I don't care. I mean, I'm a guest on your podcast, but are you off the apps? Like, what is your
I haven't been on an app in years. I probably like, I want to say maybe early September. I was on the app. I went on like Bumble for a week and I matched with like one person. And this one person decided to unmatch with me because I had dogs. And it wasn't that they were allergic to dogs. They just don't like animals at all.
Oh, that's a red flag.
And because they think they're dirty. And I'm like, and then like she just like immediately unmatched after that. And I went, okay. And then like I think, and what I was also noticing, it was like a lot of the people that I'm like swiping right on, I'm just like literally sitting there going like, there's no fucking way you're actually single and you're actually on this fucking app. Like there's just no way. And then like, you know, you swipe right a bunch of times and then like you don't, I mean, it's probably a different experience for you because you are a very beautiful woman and I'm sure you get swiped right on a lot. I don't get swiped right on a lot, even though like I'm not a bad looking dude.
Yeah.
And like the last person I was talking to, she was like, no, you have the body type that all women want. And I just kind of went, bullshit, but okay. Sure. Yeah, I do. I'm just a big dude who like, you know, I'm heavier than I've been in a really long time, but I'm also knowing that it's a lot more muscle mass. And for those of you who don't know, I used to weigh over 400 pounds. And the weight that I've lost, I pretty much gained most of it back over these past 6 years. But it's sitting on my body
different.
Yeah, I was going to say it's sitting on my body a lot different. There's a lot more muscle mass. I have a lot more strength. Like I'm lifting weight that I've never fathomed that I would ever do in my entire life.
Good for you.
I'll say that it's really weird being in the gym and I'm walking in, and this isn't saying a lot because I go to a public gym and like the guys who are like super strong go to like more private gyms and more like attuned to like what they're training.
And they're just so bougie with their little club.
No, they can afford gyms with better equipment. That's what
I know.
But for me, it's like I walk into the gym and I am the strongest guy. At least the time that I go to the gym, I am the strongest guy there. And these guys look at me and they'll be like, dude, like what the fuck? Like, oh, I could never do that. And I was like, you thought that I had this in mind? I never, like the way I'm moving.
Yeah.
Like the other day, I don't really like counting leg press all that much, but I did 1,335 pounds on leg press, right? And I went, and a lot of people go like, holy shit, I could never do that. And I was like, I never thought I could do that. I never had that in my head.
Yeah.
Like I remember like seeing like 405 on a squat bar was insane. And now like my biggest squat I've ever done is like 645 pounds. Like, wow. I'm making this shit up as I go along. I just like moving heavy weight, and like, you know, and I've mentioned this before, just me lifting the way I do. I like lifting heavy weight because it's you have to focus so hard and exuberate so much energy to move it. It's just the release that I need, and it's the way I stay connected to my mom, because I got strong because of her, because I wanted to take care of her. Yeah, and so like, it's the only reason why I still do it. It's the only reason why I still do it is for that, and it looks kind of cool. But
listen, I love lifting weights, and I used to be in CrossFit. I don't know if I was just talking about this today.
And you escaped. I'm really proud of you.
Yeah, right. I know. I went to a CrossFit gym like once, and then I had friends that did like CrossFit, and they had everything, the row machines, we have things, and which I'm going to be building it back up in my garage, but in the divorce I lost, like we had a squat rack, we had a bench press, we had the weighted balls, I had bands, we had almost every single dumbbell up to like 55 pounds. Like, I love lifting weights. There's something about it that just is so good for your mind. Like, it really is, that you can't get with cardio. You just can't. It's not the same. It is not the same.
I always tell people you got to be careful with cardio because it can kill you. And I have a story about that. There was a guy in the gym.
And then we'll go back to your dating app.
yeah. This is our ADHD.
No, I love that.
We're going on random tangents. But this dude was like, he's older, but like he's like he was a lifeguard for like so many years of his life. He was a firefighter. He competes competitively in like boat racing and like rowing and stuff like that. Like, and I mean, like when I say compete, I mean like he's competing in like world championships and all this stuff. Like he has insane cardio, right?
Yeah.
And a few months ago, he had a heart attack. And you were like, and when he told me this, I went, you? No fucking way. And he goes, yeah, like he's like, I was in the gym, I was lifting weights, I felt fine, and then I started doing cardio, I just started feeling awful, and I just went, like, Mel, maybe it's like COVID or something like that. So he's like, I just went home and I relaxed, and then I felt better, and it's like the next day or so, like I came back, started lifting again, and then as soon as I started doing cardio, I just felt really bad. And I just went home and took a shower. He's like, I told my wife, like, I'm just not feeling good. And he's like, well, you did just get over like a flu. Maybe you have like a pneumonia in your lungs or something like that. And she was like, let's take you to like the emergency room. And he's like, I don't want to go to the emergency room right now. Like, I don't want to sit there and wait. He's like, I don't want to sit there and wait.
Yeah.
So he's like, just call an ambulance. And they went, that way I'll get seen quicker. And she's like, okay. So they called 911. Ambulance shows up. They give him like a nitrogen something kind of pill. More medical people will know about it, but like they do it in case for like heart attacks and stuff like that. And he felt a lot better. And he was like, oh, you know what? Like, that's not, I feel okay. We don't need to do this. I'll just relax or whatever. I'll sign whatever waiver that you need me to sign so you guys can go on your way. I'm sorry for wasting your time.
No. Oh my God. So no.
He's walking to the ambulance to go sign the thing, and then it just hit him. Like he just felt really awful. And he's like, you know what? I'm feeling bad again. Just take me in. Let's figure out what this is. And then he goes in, they give him like an EKG, and the nurse goes, you're having a heart attack right now. And he was like, what? He's like, I am. And because he didn't have any of the like the symptoms of like shortness of breath, pain shooting up his arm. He just felt shitty. And so, he's like by the time he's like within 30 minutes, I got to the ER, and after like 30 minutes, I was out of surgery. Like he had to have heart surgery.
Wow.
So
don't do cardio, kids.
He's back at the gym. He's back at the gym telling me this story. Like, I had a heart attack a month ago. And I was like, and you're here? And he's like, I'm allowed to do like light exercise or whatever. But when he was telling me, and so I'm like literally sitting there looking at him, and I'm like, so what you're telling me is cardio can kill me. Like, don't do it.
What I'm hearing is, what I got out of that whole story is I'm never running again. Thank you.
No cardio. Cardio is the devil.
So wait,
I'm a Christian man, and it's the devil.
Right. So your apps. So, because for those that, it's really funny, and I don't think he'll mind, because I don't think he'll mind. I just dated somebody, and is super, super sweet. We just had I was like streaming and things, and just not fitting, but, like that's like the last time. I'm not doing the apps ever again. But like on Twitch. So if anybody, Tia So Fierce, follow me on Twitch. Get on your podcast.
Totally gonna put that in like podcast bio and info stuff, but whatever. No, it's okay.
We know.
Yeah, go.
But like, so the fun
Wait,
that
I thought it was TSO Twitch.
I changed it back to, so I'm keeping
TSO
brand.
Fierce, smart.
TSO Fierce.
Smart.
TSO Fierce everywhere. But like some of the things that like I was doing too, because like when I be on the apps or dating in general, because I'm not dating, I am not dating on apps anymore, ever. I tried to download them again and I was like, nope, I was like, because obviously it's funny because when John moved here, we were like swiping together and just like cracking up at the differences between the female perception versus the male perception and like just what we were running into. And it was, the stories are so good. But I can't get to know somebody like that. And I don't think any of us, I don't think that there's anything wrong necessarily. Well, I mean, the apps suck, but I don't think there's anything wrong with anybody using the apps to get whatever. But like, I am such a quote unquote demisexual that what can be attractive is across the board, because it's a lot about a person's personality that you connect with. And so it was just really, really hard for me. But like I had that one that was just like, was the best, and we're still friends. And like even I was on Twitch and like everybody's like, oh, go we'll give you level 5 hype train, because for those that don't know, you can sub and give bits, and there's like levels to like the hype train if you do it within enough time and stuff like that. So we've been messing around on Twitch, and they're like, if y'all give me a level 5 hype train, my celebrity crush was Zachary Levi. I was like, I'll slide into his DMs on stream, I don't care, we'll craft the DM slide together. So then they got on a kick that they're like, oh, go like the last 25 photos of one of your exes. And I was like, did it on stream.
Oh, you did it.
I did it.
Oh, I'm sure you got a lovely DM after that, or text.
What's funny is I was still on stream, and he came in because he's the sweetest human, like knows about it. Because when I was on the apps, I don't say that I do what I do, but some people that follow me have been like, oh, I saw you. I'm like, no, the fuck you didn't. No, we didn't. We're not.
Someone's stealing my pictures again.
Oh, someone's catfishing.
And like whiskers start coming out of your face.
Right. But like it's hard now because like I've realized, and I was talking to John about this, is I was like, I'm not going to hide what I do. And because I love what I do. I love entertaining people and making jokes about this, but it is like hard and touchy within the dating world, especially because I make jokes and people are nosy and want to know, are you really single? Like, are you really whatever? People are sometimes just wanting things from me just to try to date me. And so it's a weird balance, I feel like, dating now versus when I started, and had dated somebody that we just didn't fit, but like I thought I found the love of my life. And I think I explained that's what started my whole TikTok journey. And I was a very private person, so it's hilarious that I'm doing what I do now. Yeah. And so that's something we connected on. It's like I didn't really do social media at all, and then this blew up, and I needed the connection, and blah 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 blah.
Well, you also started doing your stuff like during quarantine when like everyone was. I think a lot of people forget about that. Like we're only 3 years removed from that, and we're all still like dealing with the ramifications, especially mentally, from that whole thing. And like, yeah, I'd never wanted to do social media really, and boom, I did it during quarantine, and it took off. And it was nice to have. It was nice being able to connect with people and being like, oh shit. But now it's like, and yeah, I'm sure you get this. People start assuming a lot of things. Like,
how do you deal with that? Because I'm having a hard time dealing with that right now, to be completely honest.
I kind of don't. I just it's like I can't control what people think about me. And like
learning that.
Like I've literally had people block me out of nowhere, and my brain goes, did somebody make like a post about me that I'm not aware of, and like they're talking mad shit about me, and now everyone's
Oh
starting to
yeah, I
believe
got
it?
blocked from so and so. Well, that was a couple years ago. I you know, a big creator, and I didn't do shit for the
Oh
record.
yeah. But that may have been a good thing.
Oh yeah,
From
now I'm like, woo, wow.
But no, but then again, like you look at, I try to look at it from the other perspective. You know what I mean? Like, is it somebody, did that something really happen? Or is it something that's like perceived? And I'm like, I don't know if I got perceived by people a certain way, or if I said something that like bothered somebody and they just went fuck off. And I've had people I thought like I was friends with just fucking disappear or just fucking block me out of nowhere. And I'm just going like, did I say something? Did I do something or whatever? And like a lot of that shit is just, it's out of
You
my
don't.
hands. Like I have zero control over it. I mean, people can watch this thing and just think that I'm like the biggest fucking asshole in the world. And I'll be like, all right, I'm sorry that you feel that way. And like, that was like with like getting like, I understand ghosting. I understand ghosting.
Can
Of
we
just
talk
going
about
like,
ghosting for a minute? Can we talk ghosting for a
yeah, no,
second?
no, totally.
What
But
is
like,
what is your perception? Okay. So I say this because I have a perception of ghosting, that when the term, and I am going to okay, let me think about this before getting myself in trouble. Back in my 20s, I was not the nicest Tia in the dating world. And when so it was way after the fact that whenever ghosting first came out, and I was like, oh, that's how I said goodbye to everybody. The rotation that I had. We're not gonna talk about it, but
like,
so bad. That was bad.
no, you could do like, oh, I'm actually Irish, and that's how we say goodbye.
Yeah, the Irish goodbye.
Just disappear.
But now, like, I feel like the term ghosting within the dating world, everybody's like, oh, everybody calls everything ghosting. And I think that there's a certain time where it's true ghosting, where you just drop off the map without a conversation. But there's within all of us that like are talking. And that's the thing too, of like, now I'm not doing the apps, but now, again, Instagram's taking off. I got some blue check marks trying to slide. And I'm like, what the hell are we all
Well, I
doing?
want to give you a heads up, by the way. You know how Twitter is doing like you can subscribe and spend money for a blue check mark. Instagram's doing the same thing now. Yeah. So
Yeah, but it's not on creators. I haven't gotten it.
oh,
Have
I
you
got
got
one.
it?
Yeah.
You son of a bitch.
I'm not, but it's $15 a month. I'm not paying $15 a month to get a blue check mark.
The only reason I would, okay, so here's because of like, in creators that are watching this, I feel like this is like understandable, because it's like the coveted, you get like not even like a league above, but it's like it opens up doors.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
But if Instagram is changing it and people can pay for it, does that even matter anymore? Because I feel like everybody's gonna have a blue check now.
Well, I mean, I know how like Twitter handled it was they go gold check mark now. And like the gold check marks are going to the people who originally had the blue check mark. You know what I mean? But it's all weird. But going back to ghosting, I think my perception of ghosting is, I would say if you were going on a date or several dates or even setting up a date, not cool to ghost after, like,
right?
Unless like it's like, say you go on said date and it was just bad and you both knew it, fuck it, you don't really need to reach out. But I would say like if conversations are happening and then like at first you're like, oh, like this is really cool, and you're talking, but then like the conversation is kind of dulling out and kind of like sporadically, and then you hit a point where you're just like, I don't need to say hi,
right?
or
Because I
what's up.
feel like if you haven't physically met in person and you haven't physically gone on a date, I don't consider it ghosting unless there's been like really a bunch of like emotional connection and like a bunch of like in depth. But most of the time that's not what happens. It's kind of like the quote unquote talking stage. But I think once you go on a physical date, you're dating. And I feel like then there's needs to be, even if there's like, because I've gone so many stupid dates and I've gotten those texts. Way to brag. No, not to brag. It's not fun. I don't want to talk to this many people. But
you're like, I'm an introvert, remember?
I'm an introvert. Well, listen, I've done you guys think like all the people, I'm sure, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, your exes, like they just lost such a I'm like, no, we weren't a match. But there's also people I've gone on dates with that literally I've gotten the text messages at the next day where they're like, hey, like I think you're really great, but I just don't see a fit. And I'm like, awesome. Thank you for doing that. Yes, people have turned me down, everybody. I know, crazy.
Well, they're stupid. Okay, because you're amazeballs, and
that's the thing too.
Well, I'm sure I like some guys are ballsier than others, but I know for me, I get really hesitant when I am approaching or talking to someone who's very attractive, because I'm like I try to be very like consciously aware of like how I'm speaking to them, and always going like, even in like say I'm getting in a conversation and it's getting heated in like a good way heated, but even then I'm still going like,
spicy.
Are you sure you want to do this? Like, you sure? Like, you're positive? Like, you sure? Yeah. Okay. I'm asking permission. I'm making sure I'm getting consent, because like I'm sure you get a lot of like shit said to you that you don't want said to you, and I don't want to be that person. So like we're good, right? Like we're cool. All right. And then I'm sure that turns like hey, he's not assertive enough, like fuck this guy. But I'm like, I've heard so many horror stories, and it just makes me go, fuck. So for you, I'm sure you get a lot of guys, or this is my assumption about you.
Yeah, let's talk it out. Let's do it.
Is that you do get guys sliding into your DMs, and not all of it's the greatest thing in the world, and it can make you kind of turn yourself off to the male species, because you're just like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And then it's really more understandable of like, I don't want to date, I don't want to do the apps, fuck this guy. I mean, I've talked to the person I was talking to, I went, holy shit, you're actually attracted to me? You're fucking lying. Like, there's no like, how are you not in it? Like, because I thought they were just like the most drop dead gorgeous person I've ever met in my life. And I was just like, what the fuck? And then like, for me to get ghosted by them, it hurt, because like literally the day before we were supposed to have said date, we were on the phone with each other like the whole fucking day. Most of the day. And I went, what happened? I just want to know.
That I do think like that's like, if there's a level of that's crazy.
Yeah. Going back to you though. Fuck me. Don't, I mean, no, okay. That came out wrong. I'm going to use that as a clip and put it on the internet, and that'll
put it on the internet. But so, okay.
But back to you.
Back to me. That's the thing that I think is funny, and like, because obviously I do have a lot of men that follow me, and I understand that, like, because for me, I don't like it. This whole gender war pisses me off, and it's on both sides. I think we're all humans. We all have emotions. We've all had societal expectations, yes, but it's been on both sides in different ways. And I wish that we could all understand the differences, the expectations that's been put on us by our genders, and can understand the other side. Not saying that all men are great, or that all women are whatever. Like, I don't like when it's like, oh, all women are this, or all men suck. We're all humans with emotions. Literally. Like, yeah, we have different hormones, whatever. We're all humans with emotions. And so a lot of times people are like, oh, we'll just pick one and love it. Like, a lot of the guys, because there's a lot of guys that will like leave comments about like, that I am just, you have like all these men, you just, oh, you can't go through your DMs. I'm like, you do understand my perception of this is I have thousands, and I do mean thousands of DMs. I know this because every once in a while I go dig just for fun. I'm like, let's
Take a
for
look.
entertainment. But I have not even seen a tenth of what's in there. But it's the perception from the male perception that I've seen from the comments and the people DMing and everything like that, of like hate on me because they've been hurt by somebody. And it's like, well, you have all the options. Yeah.
It's they're projecting that they can't be with you.
Yes.
And they're so they go like, bitch, stop. And it's like, but they're saying that like, because you'll never choose me. And no, I get that. And yet that happens, that goes both ways. It really does. There's perceptions of that. I also think there's, and I do this, and that's what I feel silly when I do it. But there's also like the I can't believe blah 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 blah. But for me, like, it's because I see the good in people so much. Like, for you, as we're friends, I get blown away. Like, I don't know how you are single, but then like we talk, and then I go, okay, I get it, because it's like bad experiences. But I always think the world of you. And yeah, and like I just think that all that shit can just get like super overwhelming. And like I get that too, where I'm like, okay, like, and sometimes I just feel guilty because I'm like, all these, like, yes, it's nice to get attention, but I think, I don't know for you, but I know for me, sometimes I'm like, it's not the attention. I want attention from the person I like. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, just because it's like, it's just like, I want the attention. That's cool. I'm getting all this attention, but I want the attention from this person who
I'd be breaking my neck to swerve these people, but it ain't the ones that I, because you're like, oh.
And it's like, for me, I feel guilty, but it's because it's like, I'm sorry that like I'm not attracted to you in that way.
But that doesn't
like, just because I'm not, and there's a rule of thumb that I was kind of coming with, just because like someone's not attracted to you does not mean that you are not attractive.
That's the thing that I think is like, and so I've talked to John, because John's my bestie, and we've talked about this because he was the same. I'm funny and I have a personality because I wasn't always cute. And I know everybody's like, oh, you no, I wasn't always cute. Okay. I grew into this. So it's very,
I grew into this.
So it is a very weird perception for me, because I feel like the same human being, but the attention that I get, obviously, and it's online because now I'm doing like, so it's amplified, right? Everybody's like, oh, how are you single? And I hate it when they say that to anybody. It's not, and there's been plenty of people, again, that like I have either dated or I've talked to. There's so many people that, because I have a lot of empathy. And so I can relate to people, and I love human beings, and I love seeing, and there's so many that I have so much love, but it's not that romantic love. And then I feel guilty. And there's been so many people that I've like, and again, like that I've hurt inadvertently, and it was never my intention to hurt them, but I just didn't reciprocate those feelings. And if you stay in a relationship like that, especially when I get those comments of like, well, you just won't pick, like you have all these, they're not the one for me. It doesn't mean that they're not a good human. Doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with them. Doesn't mean that they're not attractive. They could be. There's people that I see that are conventional. If you saw the men that I got stuck on, good God almighty, Tia. There's sometimes where I'm like, John, when he gets mad, he's like, why do you like that one? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just like so drawn to that person. He's like, I don't get it. And I'm like, I know you don't get it, but in my head, and it's the same thing for I understand that a lot of times, because from men, you guys don't have women pursuing and stuff, so it's a different perception. So, but I know that there's tons of women that are like, would throw themselves at your feet. But if it's not what you are desiring,
yeah,
doesn't devalue them.
No,
And that's
no,
how it
not
is
at
with
all.
me. It doesn't devalue
Yeah.
the men, but it's just that we're not a fit for whatever reason.
Yeah, and I think another misperception is like, because the internet amplifies things so much, it's I can go out into the real world and no one knows who the fuck I am. No, and like no random strangers coming up to me and going like, dude, you're fucking hot. Like, what's up? Like, how you doing? Or whatever. Never happens. Not once. Ever. And if it did, okay. The only time it's ever happened is from gay men that are my friends or whatever. That's how they met me. Or like when I was like working at Disney.
Got that emotional intelligence. Hey.
Well, no, but like no, I made it like my very first TikTok. I fucking made a joke about this because I thought it was really funny. I was like, yeah, when I lost weight, I became like best friends. I got myself like a gay best friend, and I was like, oh, they're gonna introduce me to all their hot single lady friends. But what ended up happening is that they ended up introducing me to all their gay friends, and I was never upset about it because they kept telling me that I looked pretty and I liked it. Like it didn't. I was like, oh, yes. Really? You think so? Yes. And like what, like one of my favorite stories when I was working at Disneyland. One of my friends, his name's Alex, who I need to get his ass on this podcast because he's a fucking amazing human being. But he told me, he was like, Anjay, if you ever fucking came out of the closet, we would throw you a parade. And I was like, I wish this was a choice, because who wouldn't want a parade?
I wish it was a choice. Do you know how fast I would leave, men? Do you understand me? Do you understand?
Yeah, I've had so many of my gay best friends, and even gay men who I have never met in my life, but they'll slide into I get a lot more DMs from gay men than anything, which is very flattering, but I was like, my love life would be so, this well would never be dry. Like I would be like, I'll be fine, but it doesn't work that way. And I don't know, it's a really random tangent we just got on. Anywho,
yeah, so not because that's where
but the whole perception of of, you know, people assume like, oh, you get a lot of people throwing themselves at you, and it's like, yeah, on the internet and maybe in like a DM, but it's not like this is actually happening in real life.
Do you know how, and it's surprising, and even John was surprised, like I think in the past year, yeah, maybe even longer. No, honestly, in the past 3 years, in public that I've been hit on once. One time. One single time. You're also 25 years old.
And the amount of times that you actually went out in public in the last 3 years?
Once. Oh, no.
One time.
No. I've been like, we've been going out. I've been going out. That's the thing is like, I'm putting myself.
Oh, you've been going out? I thought you said you were an introvert. You have been lying this whole time?
I've been lying the whole time. No, I love to go out. That's the thing is like, so I love karaoke. I love live music. First of all, I love music because for those that don't know, I am a musician. I do it just at church now. But I've done like, I just love music. So I love going out and going, whatever. And so obviously if you're dating off the apps, if we're dating in the wild, like pre-2020, and I'm in the Pacific, in the wild, and in the Pacific Northwest, there is like, I love the Pacific Northwest. This is my home. I freaking love it. I love that the people don't give a fuck, but also that sucks for dating because people don't go up to each other the way that they do in other parts. Like I grew up in the South, and small talk happens a lot more in the South. Up here, if you don't know somebody, you don't talk to other people you don't know.
Well, that's because up in the Pacific Northwest, they learned stranger danger.
Yeah.
Okay. So
freaking what's his face? Oh my gosh, serial killer.
I'm a serial killer too, but the cereal I
Zac
kill
Efron
is like
played him.
Cheerios. Oh,
Why can't
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh my
I can't
gosh.
think of his name. I can't think of
I
his name.
know. Ted. No.
I was like,
Why am
not
I
Ted
thinking
Bundy.
Ted?
No,
Not
Ted Bundy, wasn't it?
Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay, Ted Bundy, and all of them did it to us. And so, like, people do not go up to other people they don't know. And like the Seattle freeze is all over Washington and Oregon. I don't care what anybody says. It's all the Pacific Northwest. Nobody talks to each other. So there's that, which is fine. So you have to like really like work to get friends and to meet new people and things like that. And I mean, when I go out, here's the deal. When I go out, if I go out, I am extroverting to the max, like you see here. If we're going out, we having fun. If we ain't having fun, I'm not going out. So I put myself out there and that ways, but it's just so hard to meet somebody, even in that setting, because even if you're not on the apps, again, divorced, 35-year-old, single mom. So to find somebody that fits that would fit my life in the wild, a lot of times you just don't know and things like that. But no, I don't get hit on. People do not come up to me and hit on me ever. And I think because it is like, and so you're saying about, because John's the same way. John was talking about, he was like, I don't make the first move unless I know there is a green flag, blaring signs and stuff like that. And I had dated somebody a while ago that I really, really liked and it didn't work out. But he had told me, he was like, thank you. Like he'd picked me up and we were walking to we gotten out of the car and like we'd parked and I was on the side of the sidewalk, right? So he got out and come around and I just put my arm like around, like, you know, around his or whatever, you know, like the thing was like, I was like, oh.
You initiated the physical. Yeah.
And he was like, later on, he was like, I want to tell you, like, he was like, thank you so much for that. Because he was like, I then knew that maybe I had the go ahead that you were actually interested in like whether or not I would kiss you. And I was like, boy, you got the go ahead. You got that go ahead. Like I will. The thing about it too is that like within dating, like and my personality is I like to chase. This gets me in trouble. I like to chase. Okay. I like to chase. So, and that's what I was telling people. I was like, because I never lead anybody on. And so a lot of times I'll tell people like, and it is very, very, for me, very true. If I'm not chasing you, then I don't have romantic feelings for you. Because I've had people that have been like, and I understand from the guy's perspective, because John's talking about that. And he was like, I don't know if they're just being nice. How do I know if they're not being nice?
Yeah, that's where you almost have to like say like the subtle flirty thing, but like respectable flirty and just be like, you gotta have to give like that look like
you gotta test them waters.
You gotta test the water and you gotta say something like remotely flirty and then to be like, oh, okay, you are interested. You do find me attractive. Okay, cool. Cause like I didn't know.
That's what I hate it. And that's the thing is like I have some friends that are like screw men and I have some guys that are like screw women, all women this and all men this and whatever. And it's like it frustrates me because I'm like, why don't you just try to understand what that person's going through? Because from the male perspective, if it was me and you put me in that situation, I wouldn't just want to try to go out and kiss somebody without knowing, you know, 100%. Signals. And so like that's like I understand that and I will give you the goalie line like you this way. You can go this way.
Yeah, I'm very like I want people to be comfortable around me, right? So like, you know, the only people that I've ever like really approached would be like at the gym. But even if I do that, it's really subtle. And it's mostly because they're either like murdering a workout, kicking ass, and I want to give them encouragement, like positive reinforcement, like you're fucking making me look bad. Like, fuck it, you're killing it. Fucking go. Like, I love it. Fuck it, you're killing it. And then, okay, now I'm going to leave you alone. And then maybe we'll talk later. Or if I see them doing something and I'm like, I could be like, oh, I could help them with my years of experience of weightlifting. And like, guys don't fucking approach a woman and say like, hey, you should do it this way unless you really fucking know what you're talking about. I really fucking know what I'm talking about. And I'll be like, hey, do you mind if I give you this little tip? If you don't like it, you can tell me to fuck right off. I'll leave. But like, I'm also like, I'm a big guy. I'm like 6'3". I know I weigh over 300 plus pounds or whatever. I'm a big fucking dude. Whenever I'm approaching somebody, I little myself a little bit. It's like, hey, just not trying to be this dude,
not trying to hide you in my basement.
Not trying to hit on you. Like I started talking with this person at the gym, and like she's just a fucking badass. And I even told her, I was like, I just want to help you. And I'm not trying, like, I went, you're very attractive. I'm not trying to like be like, hey girl. I'm just being like, hey, you're a badass. You're in here. I want you to feel comfortable in here. And like, I know you want to make gains. Try this. Just a small little tweak in this. And like, yeah, feel good. Great. Cool. Okay. I'm gonna leave you alone now. And then like, and then it turns into like, hey, what's up? Like, hey, blah, 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 blah. And then like, I genuinely want to meet people and talk to them and get to know them as the human being that they are, the person that they are. I can find someone super attractive, but if I talk to you for 10 seconds and I'll be like, can't do it. Like, someone slid in my DMs a little while ago and I went, wow, you're really attractive. Struck up conversation. And within like an hour, I was like, this ain't going to go anywhere. Like, this is going to go
because you're like, you're so attractive and you may even be fun, but there's no emotional connection.
Yeah. Like, or like for me, it was like, it was just like, wow, like you're instantly butting heads with me. Or like I crack a joke and it immediately comes back with like a bite. And like, no, like the biggest thing was like, I asked him like, what are you up to? I'm like, oh, I'm doing this thing. It's super fun. And I was like, oh, are you wearing a cape? And that's why it makes it super fun. See, you're smiling. Like, that's a stupid little cute little joke.
It's hilarious.
And they just went back with, no, it's not superhero fun. It's just super fun. And I went, done.
Like, because that's the thing is like, you know that they're not on your wavelength because you're like, you're not picking up, and your reaction to that is meaning that like it's belittling me because you aren't on that wavelength. And it's not that anything's wrong. That's the thing about dating.
It's nothing wrong with them. It's nothing like that. I think they're still an attractive person, and I'm sure they're really sweet, kind, loving, and caring, and all those things. But like, it's there's no like emotional connect. There's no like wavelength of like, oh, here's my joke. Oh, that is a funny joke. I like that joke. I'm gonna come back and banter with you, witty banter back and forth. Like, it's like the personalities just weren't there. Doesn't mean like the personalities are wrong. Like, I have a shitty personality or she has a shitty personality. It's our personalities don't mesh. And it's pretty evident. And that's how I was like, that was like my instance, like, okay, I'm gonna kind of ghost now and just,
it's funny because like for girls on, and I wonder if this is like the perception of what men get a lot of, like, if it's all about communication, right? So if that is a bid for some connection, right, from the girl of like, they were trying to connect or whatever, and you made a joke that didn't sit with them or whatever, for them it's like, oh, well, he's just an asshole. Like, guys don't ever want to be called that. But the same thing with girls, like, we don't want to be called crazy, but it's not necessarily that. And that's why I wish people had more empathy, and why I don't like the gender wars is that, like, oh, I might need to plug in my phone. My phone might die. That
we'll wrap up soon.
I was like, my bad. I was like, blah, blah, blah. But that, like, I wish everybody would just have more emotional intelligence of like, it's, understanding like, okay, that was like my bid for attention. Because a lot of times I see guys will do whatever with me. And if I'm like, I'm trying to be polite, but keep a boundary and not lead, because I will not lead anybody. That is one thing I will never lead anybody on. I'll tell you exactly what I think, what I feel. I will never lead somebody on that, because that has happened to me and it sucks.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, but like, so like, just, I don't know. I just wish there was a lot more emotional intelligence. And I think that we're getting there as a society slowly.
I think we are. From a lot of the horror stories that I've heard from people when they're coming out of it, I've talked to like a few of my friends who've gotten out of like really bad relationships and like really bad situations. And my advice to them, which apparently my advice to anyone really, is the next time you start pursuing somebody, I think this is a solid first date question. Are you in therapy? Have you been to
Yeah.
therapy? Did you get anything out of therapy? Because
I
that's
got
gonna
in
let you know
trouble
that, but
for,
that's gonna let you know almost right away. Not like you need me to tell me your traumas and blah 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 blah. But it's a good understanding of going like, okay, you might have some emotional talent, you might have like understanding where like if I'm going through something, you're gonna be sympathetic or empathetic to that situation, or you're gonna have, or you might be more emotionally aware of yourself. And if you cross the line and I bring it up to you, you're not just going to get pissy at me. You could take a breath and go, I am sorry I did that. Like own your own shit. You know, like I'm a big person of like, I like to own my shit. And a lot of people go like, oh my God, you're such a great, I'm not,
yeah.
I'm just I'm a human. I fuck up. I'll say shit. I fuck up on things. I will own it. If I fuck up, I will own it and I will apologize and I'll try to do better. I am sorry that I did that.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I get frustrated is that I may have fucked up somewhere and I have zero idea that I did, and I get shut off right away. And I'm big on communication. If I fucked up somewhere, tell me that I fucked up, so I can go, because I might not know, or if I do something like, oh no, I did that on purpose because you've been blah 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 blah, and that is fucked up of me, and I shouldn't be doing that, and we shouldn't
Well,
be in
not
the
the thing is, like, it's a part of emotional connection that I think, like, being within my marriage of like coming to somebody and being like, hey, this and this, like, I'm frustrated. And it's not necessarily saying you did anything wrong, that you're wrong, but it's a bid for emotional connection, because you want that. You want to fix it. So you want that emotional connection, that bridge. So on vice versa, like if somebody's just giving you the cold shoulder and not telling you, they're missing a chance for you guys to emotionally connect. And that's what we want within the relationship. We don't want nobody wants to be in a relationship where everybody's like petty as shit and nobody's talking any, like every time we get mad, like, because that hurts trust on both sides. That hurts the intimacy on both sides. That hurts the relationship on both sides. We all are wired to have connection. We want connection. But it's hard. Like, a lot of us are guarded and like don't want to be vulnerable to say like, I'm hurt. That's a hard thing to admit for any of us.
And well, it's also like it's also a defense mechanism of, I don't want to admit that something that you did affected me, because and it could be from like a previous relationship, because like this last person that I dated, they really affected me, and I told myself never again. You know what I mean? And like I totally get it. I totally understand that. A lot of my relationships failed because I didn't know how to talk. I didn't know how to, I swallowed everything. I never said anything. And if they did something that upset me, I never said anything, because I was always taught happy wife, happy life type of thing. You know what I mean? Like, she's always right.
Anything that anybody gets out of this podcast from a female perspective, if I can say, we want you to tell us. We want you to talk it through. We want the resolution just as bad as you guys want it. So if you come, like, whether it's whatever it is, we want that too. Like, it's good. Like, I'm saying this from every female perspective. We want a good relationship. So speak up. And obviously there's ways to do it kindly, but we want that. We want that. And we need that. We don't want strife. We want emotional connection. We want intimacy.
No, 100%. I think that's a good way to wrap up this episode right now. I know I'm gonna have to have your ass on again just because this was all over the place and it was a lot of fun. What I wanted to do, which I didn't get to, I'm probably gonna have to do it again. Because when I brought up like, oh, I'm thinking about starting recording again, Tia, you should come on. You're like, oh, please, I have so much shit I gotta say on a podcast. And I really wanted to be the way I wanted to do this episode was to literally go like, and Tia said she wanted to get a lot of shit off her chest on a podcast. So Tia, go. So that'll be the next one. The next one will be called like the Tia Go podcast episode.
Let's do it.
And I'll just be like, and Tia, go.
Go. I have a lot of shit to say.
Exactly. So thank you all for listening and hanging out. Share it with your friends. I'm gonna try to record more often. But please be patient with me. I am insanely busy with life, and it was a miracle that I could squeeze this in. I'm gonna try to be better about it. I appreciate you all.
Doing a good job.
I thank you. I appreciate you. I really do appreciate you for doing this and saying yes to this. Yeah, everybody, please remind yourselves. I'm reminding you, please be kind to yourselves. And as always, be good.